Hello everyone. So this is a video I tried to record a while ago when my computer decided that, well, my recording software decided that no, I did not actually need any sound. So today I'm going to be looking at a Kickstarter, well, the stuff I received from a Kickstarter I backed a while ago from the Raven's Den. Um, I think the guy's name is Adam Salvage. I'll put it all in the description below with a link to his Patreon if you want to see if you can get in on the action. So, right, so a little bit of a blurb about the Ravenstead is so he is a blacksmith who primarily makes stuff for um, role playing games and sort of like like he makes game stuff mainly. Like he's made a couple of little game things with like where he makes like little like a rectangle piece of metal that excuse me, that you do different stuff with. He's made a couple of little games that you can buy and that you can purchase and play. Um, yeah, and this set that he made here was aimed mainly at the sort of LARPing and tabletop roleplay game sort of community, which I am a member of. Um, so these were sort of made to be accessories, so that if you were LARPing or LARPing live action roleplay, for those who don't know, where you run around in the forest pretending to be a Dungeons and Dragons character, or the tabletop game. So you could, if your characters found an amulet of protection, like you could have an amulet of protection you could give them. However, he also did make them with an intention of them being functional as craft tools um, as well. And so, being in both communities, I backed it. And as someone who does practice the craft, I'm going to review them to see how they hold up as craft tools. He has used runes, like he has some charms and stuff with runes on them here. And I'm going to admit right now I have a cheat sheet. I have my rune cheat sheet because there is not enough coffee in the world to turn me into a morning person. So the first time I tried to record this video, I think I kept calling Anzu. Please don't say anything about my pronunciation. I kept calling Anzu Othala, so something like that. So yeah, so I'm going to have a cheat sheet so I get them right this time. So with that said, also, this is the bag they came in. However, I've moved the runes that came with the set into this bag, which I imagine you can probably see, this is, if not completely, then mostly synthetic, which I didn't like for my runes, so I used this Hessian bag. I'll talk about that. Oh, Algiz, not Ansu. Sorry. Yeah, as I said, not enough coffee in the world to turn me into a morning person. So Algiz, the rune for protection, which does feature quite a bit in this, um, because amulets of protection and protection being somewhat important in tabletop games. So, all right, let's start with the charms and such. So, we'll start with this little one. So, this here is it's a necklace. It's themed on a raven's head. If I can figure out where I've put my camera. So hopefully you can see that. So it looks like so all of these are pewter. For those of you who don't know, pewter is an alloy of lead and silver. So right. So firstly, for as a material for use in magic, would something like silver or sterling silver be a better material? Yes, short answer. However, like there's as a silver alloy, pewter is fine. It's workable. It's functional. It will work. Um, yeah. It's also easier for the smith, the artisan, to work, which was probably a factor. And it's also cheaper than straight silver, being an alloy. which probably was probably the major factor in his decision to use pewter. Also probably availability, because it is widely used. So yeah, so is it perfectly functional? Yes. Does it look nice? Yes. Can you see that it is not silver? If you know what you're looking for, yes. Although I'm starting to get the feeling this has been coated. It might not be. I'm obviously with all alloys the ratios can change, so maybe this just has a higher silver content than most pewter I am used to. So yeah, so this was probably mostly, if not completely, probably not completely cast. I'd wager that, or at the very least, the mouth, the beak, and the eye were cast in. And then, by the look of it, he has then taken them out of the mold and then used a chisel or a punch with a straight line to put the lines in. So, as a charm, how does this hold up? Yeah, it's fine. So the raven is raven is an interesting symbol. It has many different connotations through different cultures for different things. So for any of you who are Odinists, would probably appreciate the raven, with obviously ravens being the two ravens whose names I'm not even going to try to pronounce, being the messengers for Odin, who is himself a god of wisdom and, well, amongst other things, wisdom and knowledge. It was him who, if memory serves, he hung himself from the tree to gain the knowledge of runes to give back to his people, or did he put his eye out for that? I can't remember. There's a few fun stories about Odin, and I'm not a big Odinist. I don't know a great deal about Norse mythology. So yeah, so Raven is definitely a worthy symbol. And you have here the leather thong with so this leather thong is actually slightly adjustable. So it's like one strip that's been put through here and then held in place with this copper crimp. But with this side here, it's actually, if I can get it to work, should be slightly loose. There we go. All right, so probably can't see that, but you can adjust the length of those strips. There. So yeah, so as a charm, as a necklace, it's fine. Looks pretty cool. Definitely unique. It will certainly stand out if you wear it around. Yeah, no complaints about that one. So here is our amulet of protection with algas, not Othello, as I was very thoroughly saying in the last video. So once again, this was also pewter, as I said. They all are. Most, if not completely, cast. In fact, this one I'd wager was completely cast. So I'm just looking to see, because it's obviously got the I'll probably show you a bit closer if my camera will focus. No, it won't. Whatever. You can see as I move the light, you can see it's got texturing on it, so it's got bumps on it. And I'm just trying to see if yeah, that texturing looks like it was put in a part of the casting, wasn't done afterwards. So yeah, so this was probably cast from scratch essentially. So with the mold, and then you pour the pewter in on top. So pewter, once again, as I said, not as good as straight silver, but it's fine. It works. It's fine. Then we have the algas, the rune of protection. So this would make a perfectly functional actual amulet of protection. So you could definitely spell this as you wished. And once again, like the raven pendant, this would definitely stand out. Definitely be very unique looking. Probably not as much as the Raven, obviously, but this is definitely bigger and would stand out more if that's your thing. But yeah, as an actual amulet, fine, it's great, works. So lastly, we have the charms, and so all of these, this one here, that bit is adjustable as well. So if you wanted to have it loose like that, you could. And once again, that they all are. I think I said that. So I think I might actually loosen this up a bit to give me a bit of room to work with the separate rooms. So here we have 3 rooms. So starting off, if I can get them to cooperate, apparently not. For the love of all things holy, there we go. All right. So once again, my camera is not thing. So all right. So there are our 3 charms. So obviously we have Algiz, the Rune of Protection. Here we have Athila, which is property, home, and prosperity. Oh, no, plenty. Sorry. So this is a generosity rune, and then lastly here at the end we have Fehu, which is money, wealth, luck, and abundance. So yeah. So one thing I'm going to say straight off the bat here is I really do wish that there was a way you could open this cord up and take the separate charms, and take the charms off so that you could have them separately if you wished. The fact that they're all stuck together does kind of limit their use somewhat, and it's also a little annoying. Make it much less convenient to wear around, especially because the way they would hang is they would hang like that instead of like that. Like the way you'd probably fix that is if you could take them off the cord, you then put just a ring through there, like you would see on most pendants. I'll use mine for example. It's a bit hard because it's still around my neck, but yeah, that ring there. Once again, not focusing because my camera sucks. So yeah, easy enough. You put a ring like that, you could put a ring like that through, and then they would hang nicely. They can't do that, and they do not come off, at least not without taking the copper rings off, which is somewhat unfortunate. So, all right, so charm of protection, prosperity, plenty, and then we have money. So those are fine. Are they the most optimal ones to use for like craft charms? Probably not. I mean, obviously the protection one aside, they'd be fine. Probably something more to keep around the house than to wear around, but for the most part. But yeah, they're nice. And these ones I think are slightly different in that by the look of it, these were cast and then maybe had the runes stamped in. It could be either way, but it does sort of look like they've been hand stamped. But I could be wrong. Anyway, so yeah, so those are the charms that came with. As I said, my big complaint is that you can't take them off. So you could just, as I said, do a spell on them and then keep them around the house. Would probably be the most use for these, but without being able to separate them, or at least take them off to put the ring on, that's basically it. So yeah, bit sad that one. All right, so here we end bag, get that out the way. So, so this Hessian bag was mine before. I like the natural fiber of the Hessian for my runes. I'm not a big rune user. I have a tarot deck that is my go-to for divination. I do have another rune set. I do have my rune set. Very, very nice set of jade runes. Big fan of them, even though I never use them. So I will probably end up giving, well, my daughter will be oldest first, so if she does have any interest in the craft, she will get first pick of whatever runes I happen to have by that time. With my son, I imagine she'll, if those are the runes I've go for, if she's interested, she'll probably, I imagine, go for the jade runes because they are very pretty, which means my son might end up stuck with these if I don't have another set by then. So yeah, so these are the runes. So unlike the charms we were looking at before, these are steel. These are absolutely not pewter, so they are steel. If I were to hazard a guess, I'd say that these have been blackened as well after being forged. So you probably got like a piece of cut pieces of bar, heat them up, put them on the anvil, and just like smash them flat to give the coin shape. There's like presses and stuff, like either with a press or not a fly press where you have a handle you pull like this and it squashes things flat, or on the anvil, or with lots of different ways you could do it. So then they would have been squashed flat, and or he may have made a stamp. So it's basically you may have had a stamp for all the different runes, and then so you may have gotten a piece of metal, a piece of bar, put them onto the stamp with the rune on top, and then the stamp would go over the metal, and then he would hit it probably with like a sledgehammer, and then it would squash it flat while at the same time imprinting the rune, because he was probably making enough of them for it to be worth his while to have those. Sorry, I'm also a hobbyist blacksmith, so the making of these is as fun to me as the actual items themselves. So yeah, so you have an iron rune. So you wouldn't typically see metal runes for sale. Typically, runes are made of natural substances to help, like that way you can harness the natural energies. Making runes out of or clay, although clay runes I believe are typically handmade runes that you buy. So, and the reason for that is simple, and I'll touch into this. Actually, I may as well touch into this a bit now. So it's the same reason why you don't see wands, commercially available wands made out of metal, is because they don't really have the energy. They're just commercially made in a factory, pressed out by a machine. And so that's why most craft, like things like runes, are made out of natural materials, like my jade runes. That way, even though they can be commercially made of machinery, you can still harness the natural energies. And I know the skeptical people will laugh at that and say, "What are you talking about? It doesn't really make any difference between like what energy it has. That's nonsense." And I can say that is absolutely not the case. There's definitely a different feel between something that's been handmade or something that is natural compared to something that is man-made. And I'm not just saying this as a hippie witch. I have an interest in science. I have an interest in engineering, and like having handled funny story time. So I had an aunt who had two bracelets. One was made with fake amethyst. So you make fake amethyst by, you basically get glass or plastic, color it purple, and then as you cool it into the little pebbles, you you blow air bubbles through it, and it gives the look it gives the flawed look at a distance. Whereas you can tell if you look close, you can see the bubbles inside. So she had the fake amethyst bracelet, and she had a real moonstone bracelet. And I could, and we actually made a little game out of this myself, my aunt and her friend, or her then boyfriend, now husband, I can't remember who was there. But I would close my eyes, and they would put they would put the bracelets on the table. They wouldn't tell me which one was which, and they put my hands over the bracelets, and I could tell by feel without actually touching them which one was which. So, and it worked every time without fail. Um, so the whole thing of all that natural energy stuff is just nonsense. Is that statement is false. Like I haven't done that sort of stuff for a while, but honestly, if you did, I could probably do that right now, like without any sort of preparation. Give me like 5 seconds to hold each item to get their feel, and I could pull that off probably every time. Um, so yeah, natural energy does make a huge difference, and because commercially made metal items don't have that, they don't really function. Like to turn them into craft tools is difficult. That is why if you have the knives, the Bolin and the Athene, however you say them, my pronunciation isn't great, as I've said before. Um, like you could, why that's why handmade versions of those knives are much better than commercially available knives. But um, handmade knives are expensive, and if that's what you have access to, you have what you have. I mean, seriously, on a side note, you could probably have an Athame made out of wood. It's more the symbolism that makes the difference. But anyway, um, we could have that for another video, I guess. Also, like wooden weapons, lives, and stuff. That's like it's a historical thing. You could make it work anyway. So yeah, to get back onto the metal runes and why they work when they're handmade. Oh, why these work when to commercially make them wouldn't is down to the way they're made. So instead of just this being punched up by a machine, so big cutter comes and cuts the circle out, probably at the same time as the stamp puts the the rune on, is because there's no energy in this. Like the difference with these ones is that these are handmade. Is someone has put time and energy. This has been worked in a fire, um, and then even if it was just done in the stamp, this was this has been made by someone who I know takes their takes their craft seriously, someone who enjoys it, takes pride in it. So these, having been worked in a fire, probably possibly a coal fire, just judging by the feel of it. Maybe a gas fire, but having been worked in a fire and then worked by hand by someone who takes pride in his craft, these definitely have an energy that you would not get from commercially made. And because he takes pride in his work, I mean, yeah, maybe he had a bad day when he was making these, but unlikely. So this definitely would have a very maybe not very positive, but like it would have probably a positive, at the very least, a sort of competent, proud, um, diligent energy in them from the guy who made them. So yeah, so these would work where the commercial ones wouldn't, because you have that energy worked into them that you can harness when you use them for whatever you use them for. So yeah, all right. Now on to the wand. So as I was saying before, you don't typically see metal wands because to make them commercially by a machine, they've got nothing in them. So whereas this having been worked by hand to a much greater extent than the runes have, will have much more energy in it and have been, yeah. So I'll go through how this was probably made. So the first bit that was probably this twist here. And incidentally, to do this twist, you don't actually need to heat the metal up for that. You can just, if you've got a decent enough lever, you can put. So this probably started off as square bar. Well, when I say probably, this would have started off as square bar unless the guy was crazy enough to get round bar and hammer it square first, which I can tell he hasn't because there isn't any marks. So he would have had a square bar, probably about that long. That long, if I can say, if I can keep it in camera. Maybe a bit longer. So there. And so he would have taken that and then put one end into the vise, put his little lever twisty thing on the other end, and then just twisted it around until he was happy. And something I mentioned in my last video that still irritates me is if you watch, so there is my finger going in, watch the little circle on top. So here we have quarter turn, half turn, 3/4 turn, finish. It doesn't do a full 360-degree turn, which is irritating. It sets off the OCD in me. It's like, could you not have just given it that half, like make it a little bit longer, given it that half a twist more? Not half a twist, quarter twist more. But it is what it is. So you would have put the twist in first, probably done this bit next because it would be the quickest. So with this one, you just hammer it out into a long straight bit, kind of like this bit without the bumps, except more pointy. You take it over the horn of the anvil. That's the funny cone-shaped thing at the front, and then you hammer it around into this little circle. Then you would have taken this end, drawn that out into this point, and by the look of it, so there's a couple of ways you can put these dents in, and you'll notice that they are opposed. So there's 2 dents there, 2 dents there, 2 there on opposite sides of each other. So that was probably done with some sort of mold or press setup, and there's a couple ways you can do that. So you can put, it's called tooling, stuff that you put into machinery to create specific shapes is called tooling. So you can, if you had gotten like rounded, this is so hard to do for a camera, rounded tooling in a fly press, the one I said before where you drop it down, which you may have used for that. You put that sort of, if you think of like a length of pipe or a rolling pin, you cut it in half lengthways, you then take the pieces and put them opposite each other so the 2 rounded ends face each other. And that's what all of this tooling would look like, no matter how he did it. So if he had it on a fly press, he would have had them in the fly press, and then he would squeeze this between them, and it would have just squished that flat. And depending on how, I think there is some hammer work done on this, but probably he would have done most of this with that tooling, where you just would have put it through and just gone smack, 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 turn around, smack, smack, turn around a bit, and then just done it to varying degrees, like varying depths to texture it, then maybe taking a hammer to it afterwards. So honestly, judging by the different depths, this was probably done on a fly press because it would be much harder. Because you can also put you can put them on, like if you've seen a pair of tongs where the 2 bits, where it's got the 2 things that sort of meet up in the middle and then they squeeze together. You can also make tooling like that you can use on on a power hammer or on an anvil. So he could have had that on the anvil, put that in there, and then you can put it in. If you've seen anvils, you'll notice they've got a hole, usually a square hole called a hardy hole, and you can make a tooling like that where it sticks in the hardy hole, and then you can put this in, and then So that stays in place, and you put it in there, and then you hit the top of the hammer, and it just goes smack, smack, smack. But most likely this was probably done on a fly press. So for the hardy hole tool, you just hit it with different levels of strength to texture it up, whereas with the fly press, it would depend on how far you moved the fly bar or whatever they call it. So yeah, and then after you've done texturing it up, you probably would have taken a hammer to it just to texture it up a bit more. And voila, we have our wand. So, and as I was saying with this, like, the fact that this has been worked, and this has been worked a great deal more than the runes, a lot more energy, a lot more work has gone into this. So, and you can definitely feel it holding it. Yeah, you can definitely feel the energy coming in. And something else that probably was done, like this bit here was done for decoration. What you probably could do if you wanted to sort of theme it towards, say, there's a particular task you have in mind, you can just hang charms or fetishes, like make them and then you can hang them from this little loop to help with the energy and the intention you have going. Like that's something you could do with this one that you couldn't really do with another wand, because it has that loop. And you can, like, if you have string, you can buy natural fiber strings or leather in the shops. You can tie them on and take them off as you want. So you can customize this wand on the fly almost in a way you can't with other wands. So that is definitely something more useful about this one than like a commercially bought one. And also, like, the way it's been forged means that if you're familiar at all with craft tools, you'll know, or the elements, you'll know that different elements are associated with different tools. And the fact that this has been worked in fire means that this wand is even more attuned to fire than a normal wand, even a wand from, a tree associated with fire. Like if you get, I want to say ash, but I have a nagging suspicion that's wrong. I can't remember. A tree associated with the element of fire, and even if you take that and, fire it and burn it, like this is still probably be a much more fire attuned craft tool than even that. Just on a side note. But yeah, so as a craft tool, this is perfectly functional. As there's a reason why you don't why you wouldn't see a commercially made metal tool, and the reasons for that do not apply to this because of the way it was made. So yes, you can have metal wands. You could have a metal staff if you wanted, but the thing would have to be hollow. Otherwise, God, that would be heavy. Yeah, you can have metal tools like metal wands. You typically won't, though, because they don't work commercially for all the reasons I've mentioned. However, this one here is perfectly fine. It is usable. It's probably the best wand I currently have. As I said, damn it, I like the craft side of that, so I'd probably prefer to make any wands of mine. So I haven't got around to that yet. It's just not that high on my list of priorities right now. But yeah, so here you go. Functional metal wand. Something I imagine most witches have probably never even considered as an option. So yeah, that is that. So yeah, so thank you all very much for putting up with me and my rant, and I'll be making some more videos shortly. Well, not today, but in the not too distant future. See you then.